due to a drunken scheme. She went from being a stepdaughter to a sister-in-law, and married her brother-in-law. After marriage, her husband frequently had rumors with other women. She had to help manage and settle the rumors. Everyone thought she was a joke. But they didn't know that the woman was a spectator. She didn't care who her husband loved. She just wanted to play along. Make good use of this identity to find out some things from the past. Looking at the bustling crowd of reporters, she walked into the hotel calmly. She asked where Assistant Joe is. The assistant didn't expect the visitor to be her, looking worried. In the room, the woman approached and knocked on the door. A young girl in her prime charmingly opened the door. Are you the crisis public relations person from General Zhou's office? The woman nods slightly, brushes past the young girl. As she walks in, she happens to see a man coming out of the bathroom. Tied around his waist is a loosely hanging bath towel. Innate laziness and sensual sex appeal. Seeing his wife enter, the man did not feel the embarrassment of being caught in bed, but instead asked playfully and mockingly, "How come it's you?" The woman also remained unruffled. Indifferent response. The downstairs is full of gossip reporters. No one is willing to take over. The indifferent and harmonious atmosphere between the two made the assistant nervously take a shortcut. After all, only he knew about the two of them. Actually, they have been married for 3 months. In the conversation, the man loosely put on his bathrobe and looked at the woman with a half-smile, indicating for her to go back and send someone else to handle it. The woman ignored him. Instead, she turned and looked at the young girl next to her. She recognized this young girl. She was the rising star under her husband's wing, rising to the top by hyping up a CP couple pair. Just a few days ago, the wife of a certain well-known director even mentioned me, telling me not to cross any lines, even in jest. Haven't seen each other for a while, but this guy. You don't reject visitors, do you? Xiaohua felt inexplicably flustered by the woman's stare, but she still maintained her composure. She said coquettishly, "There are too many reporters downstairs. Why not admit the relationship with Mr. Zhou first, and clarify it later after some time?" The little girl's thoughts are written all over her face. She wants to use a man to build her own reputation. A woman provocatively refuses with cold lips. "Your agent is already downstairs. You can go down now." Xiaohua was a little stunned after hearing this. Go down? Yes. The company has arranged a lipstick advertisement for you. The shooting location is nearby. Go now. Xiaohua flirts with men. The man is caught stealing glances at the woman. She left hastily with a sense of tact. After all, she hadn't had anything with this man. The woman saw that Xiaohua's matter had been resolved, and then looked at the man leisurely smoking. She casually took the cigarette from his mouth and put it out, and said, "Manager Zhou, please go to the next room now. Mr. Li and the others are waiting for you to start the meeting." The man smiled as he looked at his wife, teasingly asked, "Is everything arranged?" The woman looks cold. "Mr. Zhou, you only have 5 minutes. Hotel security will pretend to be negligent. Let those reporters come up." Man and woman gaze at each other for a few seconds, then smirk with thin lips. Rise and walk towards the next room. The man behaved so recklessly. The woman was about to leave, but suddenly her phone rang. "Grandpa." A voice of authority came through the phone. "Come back with that idiot in half an hour." Scared, the idiot's assistant pressed against the wall and watched the woman leave. The woman sat in the car and sent a message to the man, asking him to go back to the old house with her. Message sent. Just like before. No response, as if it vanished. The woman is not angry. She's browsing today's entertainment headlines. After confirming there were no rumors about her husband, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. This was her job. She was the public relations manager at her husband's company. Just then, the car door suddenly opened. The man, dressed in a suit and polished shoes, with the collar of his shirt slightly open, sauntered in with a decidedly roguish air. He noticed his wife had been watching him. The man asked playfully, "Ying, what are you watching?" His magnetic and seductive voice made the woman reminisce. The drunken night for the two. That's how he coaxed her too. "Darling." "Yes, just like that. Be good, baby. Relax. I'm about to surrender." The girl I've been secretly in love with for years. After getting drunk, she took the initiative to go into his room, but afterwards the girl was cold to him and didn't care at all. Although they'd been married for 3 months, they still live separately and do their own things. No qualms about your own rumors? No hint of jealousy either? A man saw a woman daydreaming, knocked on the car window, and the woman came to her senses, hastily put down the phone, and drove back to the old house. Just then, the phone on the center console rang. Message popped up. The man curiously glanced over. It turned out to be a message from his wife's best friend. The content said, "Your husband is out carousing every day. Can he still satisfy you at home? Should I help you find a nanny, dear sister?" The man looked at her with a questioning expression, raising his eyebrows. The woman also glanced at the message. She calmly turned her phone over and placed the screen facing downwards. Half an hour later, the car arrived at the Zhou family's old house. The two got out of the car, one in front and one behind. The man suddenly leaned in close to the woman's ear, whispered softly, "If you really have that kind of need, you can directly talk to me about it." The air suddenly became quiet for a few seconds. The woman looked at the silly and romantic man, answering expressionlessly, "No need. I don't have that kind of need." Finished. Turning around without looking back, I walked towards home, watching the woman's figure getting farther away. The man had a silly smile on his face. He had been secretly in love with her for 11 years. Never had he thought he could have her. But that night she entered his room. The woman stopped at the door, waiting for the man to come in together. The two are newlyweds. Even though they can't be as close as glue, at least they should look respectful to each other. Just entered the living room. A purple clay teacup suddenly smashed towards them. The man instinctively reached out his hand, pulling the woman behind him to protect her. The old man angrily berated him. "Son of a bitch, yesterday a tender model, today a small flower. Apart from fooling around, what else can you do? Can you let me worry less?" Men, understand the wet collar. Careless laughter. "Why am I not making you feel at ease? I just signed the overseas acquisition deal for you yesterday." Grandpa's anger has eased a bit. "Let him come over and sit down. Check if he got burned just now." Grandpa Zhou actually spoils this little grandson. In recent years, all those scandals of his, he always turns a blind eye to them. Even when punishment is given, it's just loud thunder and little rain. The man takes a seat. The old gentleman's gaze falls on the woman again. He praises her for handling today's affairs very well, but still hopes that she can put more effort into the family, and aims to have his own great-grandchild next year. The woman maintained a polite smile on her face. "Okay." Then she went to the kitchen to help. After the woman left, the old man asked the grandson, "What's your attitude? If you really don't like her, just give her some money, and part on good terms. That girl has grown up under my care, after all," the man lazily said as he ate grapes. "Grandfather, do you like boys or girls?" The old man was stunned for a moment, then immediately responded by asking, "Have you figured it out? Are you going to have a child with Ying?" "Yes, have a child." The old man laughed heartily after being teased. "It's almost dinner time." Other members of the Zhou family have also arrived home one after another. Old Master Zhou only has one son, and that son has given him 2 sons and a daughter, the second son in the male line. He was born to his father and first love. His brother and sister were born to his current wife. Although his wife hates the second child to the bone, she has always disguised herself as kind on the surface. Just like now at dinner, Mrs. Zhou used public chopsticks several times to pick up food for her younger son. She appeared as a kind mother. Her younger sister pouted and complained, "Mom, you always side with your younger son." The elder brother then elegantly responded, "Mom has always been like this. She dotes on the second child the most." The mother and her 2 sons responded in harmony, as the man smiled ambiguously while sipping his soup, like an outsider, appearing harmonious on the surface, but actually hypocritical. After all, the position of inheritor of the Zhou group only comes after dinner. The woman, along with the maid, was cleaning up the dishes and utensils. The younger sister raised her voice, instructing her to cut an orange for her. "Okay." After all these years, she had become accustomed to it. She was half of the Zhou family's foster daughter. "I only finished college because of their financial support." The man who was on the phone turned his head and coldly questioned his sister. "What do you call her?" His sister was taken aback. "I was shocked." Then Shan explained, "I've just been saying it without thinking all these years. I'll remember it from now on, and call you second sister-in-law." After the man finishes his call, he sees the woman still washing dishes alone in the kitchen, so he goes over to help her gather her scattered hair, and ties it up by her ear. Grandpa suggests staying over tonight. "What do you mean?" As he spoke, he leaned forward and lowered his head close to the woman's ear. In a magnetic and captivating voice, "Don't worry, I sleep on the sofa." The woman's body dodges and leans forward, and scolds the man in the room. "Stay away from me." The man grins impudently. "What are you afraid of?" The female lead immediately changes the subject. "The group will hold its annual meeting next month. Within the next month, don't let any more scandals break out about you. What if it accidentally gets exposed?" Woman frowns. "Can't you be a little more careful?" Man smirks and says, It's a little tricky. The woman pushed him away. You are on your own. She went upstairs angrily. The man restrained his smile, and sternly instructed the servant beside him. In the future, let her do less housework, the maid argued. It's second madam who insists on doing it herself, the man coldly remarked. She will do it later. Just pack up and leave. Get out of the kitchen. The man ran into the big brother. The man lightly pulled the corner of his mouth and asked with a sneer, What's the matter, big brother? Big brother handed over a glass of wine as a comfort. Since you have married Ying, you should take good care of her. She appears strong on the surface, but inside she's actually quite fragile. The man took the red wine and raised his eyebrows, asking back, Why did I marry her? Don't you know? The eldest brother defended himself in frustration. It was a misunderstanding. My mom didn't expect Ying to have such a low alcohol tolerance, blundering into your room by accident. The man raised his eyebrows and chuckled softly, without overthinking it. You all seem quite kind. After emptying the cup, the man hands it back. Then he reaches out to pat the big brother's shoulder and coldly says, Rest assured, I will definitely compete with you for it. Big brother's smile freezes instantly. After speaking, the man strode upstairs and lightly chuckled. Sire, please, put away your hypocritical manner in front of me. His anger made him want to crush the wine glass. Entering the room, takes off clothes, collapses onto the sofa. But hears the sound of rushing water in the bathroom. It turns out to be the wife I've only met once. She was washing dates, only to find that she didn't bring any clothes, and there was a man sitting outside the door. She knocked on the shower glass, tentatively asking the man, May I help her get the clothes? The man doesn't respond, pretending to be asleep. The woman has to wrap herself in a small towel. She comes out to get them herself. She takes a deep breath, quietly walked past the man, hurriedly grabbed a nightgown, and crept back to the bathroom. But all of this was seen by the man. And the woman suddenly felt someone staring at her. She suddenly turned her head, and found the man staring at her. With a playful and smug look on his face, she was stunned for a moment. Then she understood. The sound of the bathroom door closing, quickly getting dressed and coming out. You're not asleep? The man smirked and asked, What? Since you're not sleeping, I called you just now. Why didn't you respond? The man innocently asks. Did you call me? The woman was speechless by the man's attitude, and turned to get on the bed. They have known each other since childhood, and were originally just friends. Now they are forced to be husband and wife. Does the man's phone ring because he misses me? A sweet female voice comes from the phone, calling the man out to play. The man deliberately, with a carefree smile, asks, Miss me? On the other end of the phone, she coquettishly says, Bothersome. Will you come out or not? The man glances at his wife next to him, and refuses. Can't leave. Tonight at the old house. Finished speaking, added, Keeping my wife company. The phone at the other end was immediately hung up. But his wife's phone next to him immediately rang. The woman glanced at the screen. It's Guan Lei. His wife was truly the green plum of his life. If it weren't for the accident that night, the position I'm in now should have been hers. I had intended to let the call disconnect naturally, but the person on the other end was persistent. The woman answers the call. An anxious and angry voice comes from the other end. Are you doing this on purpose? You know today is my birthday, and you deliberately brought him back to the old house. Now you let him out? I'm sorry. The woman spoke lightly and washed her face. The third party angrily threatened, Don't go too far. But at this moment, the man comes and takes the phone away. He coldly says to the person on the other end of the line, Stop making a scene. The person on the phone cries and coquettishly says, It's my birthday today. The man quickly glanced at his wife, because the room was too quiet. The sweet voice on the phone. His wife also heard it clearly. The man wanted to see her reaction, wanting to know if she cares, but she tactfully gets up and leaves, to go downstairs to pour herself some water. Just as she's drinking water, someone suddenly appears behind her. The man came over with hot milk and asked her, Why haven't you slept yet? He tenderly handed her the hot milk. But the woman showed no intention of taking it, and the man did not insist. Elegantly withdraws his hand, gently asks with a smile, Did you have a fight with second brother? This private scene was also seen by the man upstairs. He knew that his wife actually has always liked the eldest brother. The eldest brother, in a gentle manner, told the women that if they were wronged, they could talk to him. The woman politely rejected him. Thank you, brother. It's getting late. You should rest early. Finishing speaking, hurriedly leaves. Married woman. Even though their relationship was special, the boundaries should be clear. not to mention the scheming after that drunken night. He should have been involved too, 3 months into marriage. But distant like two strangers. A woman who has just had a private meeting with her big brother returns to the bedroom, sees her husband lying on the sofa playing with his phone without a word. She also walks straight to the bedside and lies down without a word, perhaps because of the day's exertions. The woman fell asleep soon after lying down. The man looked at the sleeping woman with an expression full of melancholy. Early the next day, the woman drove away alone. She is estranged from her husband, as if they were strangers. The woman had just parked and walked towards the office building when she heard a few female employees talking about the gossip of the CEO's husband. The female employees instantly shut their mouths after seeing the woman. But the woman glanced, making them continue. Watching the woman walk away, Jiang, several female employees patted their chests with lingering fear and said, I am always very afraid when I see her. I don't know why. I also am. It's obvious that she didn't say anything about me. But she's a nice person. She's nice, but I'm afraid a few female employees will start gossiping about you. The Zhou family has sponsored so many college students, only she can stay. Can you handle it without any impact? After a woman enters the office. She's constantly dealing with various public relations events, after handling the scandals of her artists. She is going to start making arrangements for this year's Zhou Company annual meeting. She called to talk to the relevant manager. But the other side hesitated, saying it was inconvenient, because Mr. Zhou is in his office. Mr. Zhou is the woman's husband. No one in the company knows about this. The woman paused for a few seconds and replied, then let's do it in the afternoon. However, Mr. Zhou on the other end said in a low voice, tell her to come over now. I just happened to be listening too. The woman frowned. She really wants to pretend she didn't hear. She has been deliberately avoiding that man. She doesn't want to see him, but good professional ethics ultimately held her hostage. As she approached the door with the proposal in hand, the manager of the planning department was busy flattering Mr. Zhou. The woman reached out and knocked on the door. He walked in. Manager Zhao turned around with a big smile on his face. The woman also tugged at the corners of her mouth and smiled back. CEO Zhou secretly glanced at his wife and immediately averted his gaze. Stub out the cigarette in Manager Zhao's ashtray. The woman steps forward to show the proposal to the man. But the man waves his hand, saying, you guys handle your matters. No need to involve me. In fact, he just wants to catch a glimpse of his wife, since he doesn't care. There's no need to talk to him. The woman walked to the desk, threw the documents, and coldly called out, Manager Zhao, Mr. Zhao is here. He instinctively looks at General Zhou. General Zhou raises his eyebrows. What are you looking at me for? Calling you? Lao Zhao smiled awkwardly, and went forward with a tight scalp. The woman had her back to the man, bending down, showing a section of a tender white waist, attracting the attention of a man, captivating his gaze. The woman points out a few adjustments needed in the proposal. Old Zhao looks troubled. He wanted to refute but hesitated because Mr. Zhou was still present, so he could only smoothly smile and say, we will do our best. But we must change the seriousness and assertiveness of women in the workplace. It's well known. Lao Zhao was speechless for a moment, feeling unable to hold his face. So he chuckled awkwardly and explained that those questions were actually Miss Guan's request. You also know she is the big shot of this event. The woman's body has been tough, indicating, if Guanlei can't do it, we'll find someone else. Lao Zhao was stunned on the spot. Who is Guanlei? That's General Zhou's rumored girlfriend. The most likely woman to become the mistress of Zhou's media empire. You want to replace her so easily? Isn't this inappropriate? Lao Zhao said with a smile, seemingly asking the woman, but looking past her shoulder at Manager Zhou. Manager Zhou smirks and asks, if Guanlei is replaced, who are you prepared to have take her place? After hearing this, Lao Zhao's first reaction was, is Manager Zhou not compatible with this woman? So he acted as a mediator and said to the woman, I think Miss Guan is quite suitable, whether in appearance or temperament. Before Lao Zhao could finish his words, the woman scornfully said, if you don't listen, you're not suitable. He cannot afford to offend these two big shots. Just shut up and behave. Just when Lao Zhao thought the atmosphere was going to stay tense, CEO Zhou casually agreed to change players. And Lao Zhao stood there dumbfounded. Okay. The woman and the man looked at each other for a second. They politely said goodbye and left. The man sits there with a smirk on his face as he watches her leave. Lao Zhao wipes the sweat off his forehead and asks, Manager Zhou, what about Miss Guan? Isn't that your business? Why are you asking me? The man lights up another cigarette. His expression indifferent. Jiao Yi, it's not easy, it's really tough. Is it easy to make a living? A woman agrees to a friend's invitation to go to a bar, but as soon as she arrives, her car is hit hard from behind. Before she can even get out of the car, someone starts knocking on the car window. It turns out to be her husband's mistress, waiting angrily outside the car. Did you intentionally crash? The woman understood in her heart, calmly opened the door, and got out of the car like this. The woman is half a head taller than the third party. When we look each other in the eye, you never come out on top. What makes you think you can replace me? Guilei angrily interrogated. Miss Guan, I know you have grievances against me, but I never mix business with pleasure. The woman spoke in a calm and composed tone. After hearing this, Guanlei became even more frustrated. So, what you're saying is, I mix business with pleasure? It does seem so at the moment. The woman's response was still indifferent. Guanlei didn't know how to respond to the anger. At that moment, suddenly, a figure walked over, and protects the female lead behind him. His name is Chang Bo, the female best friend. He is also an actor. Chang Bo knows Guanlei. The two look at each other. Guanlei mocking. I thought it was who? I've been struggling in the entertainment industry for 3 years, and I'm still an unknown with no recognition. If I were you, I would have left the industry long ago. Chang Bo jokingly replies. You're even stronger than Miss Guan, the first star. Mr. Zhou is already married. Are you still rushing to become number 3? Guanlei was left speechless again. She was so furious that she directly grabbed the man's clothes and was about to hit him. The man showed no fear and mocked. What? Still want to fight me? Come on, give me a hit. I'll scream harassment. Let's all take a look at the legendary beauty Guanlei. Is she really a beauty? Whenever Changbo says this, his whole being is so smug. Guanlei is speechless. There's no arguing with this. Can't hit either. In the end, can only leave angrily and lay down harsh words. You wait for me. This matter is not over. Woman responds. It is indeed not over. The car repair cost is 10,000. Remember to transfer money to me. Guanlei, annoyed, stomped away. This argument is too suffocating. In the bar, a woman and her male best friend sat down not long ago. Another female friend, Chu Shi, also burst in aggressively. Said that the third party Guanlei came to cause trouble again. She picked up the bottle, turned and walked out. Changbo grabbed him and stood up. What are you doing? I'm going to cut her. I've been wanting to do it for a long time. He seemed unstoppable, as if 8 oxen couldn't pull him back. The heroine frowned, and said softly, Let her go. Let her go. Let her go. Changbo was stunned, suspecting he had misheard. The female lead rests her right hand on her face and smiles gently. Let's let Chu Shi go. I like the way she stands up for me. Guanlei only has 4 bodyguards around her. She's good at kickboxing too. Even if we can't beat the opponent, I think it's okay to reach a draw. My male best friend looks puzzled. Huh? With her mediocre skills, you know that, right? Before I could finish speaking, my girlfriend had already disappeared in the blink of an eye, and obediently sat down. Not going? Next time then. Why aren't you playing by the rules? You're making me nervous, seemingly debonair on the surface, but actually purely devoted. Always secretly in love with the leading lady. If the woman had not been plotted to be drunk that night, and went into the wrong room, he wouldn't have had the dream come true of marrying her. Just now, the leading actress and her 2 best friends were drinking at the bar. She just went out to take a phone call. The waiter hurriedly came to find her, saying her friend started a commotion in Manager Zhou's private room. It turns out she went to scold Guanlei, learning only the ways of the lowly, lacking propriety and integrity. Guanlei has always pretended to be weak and hides behind men. When she sees other women, her expression is unhappy. Her best friend quickly shuts up. The woman signals for them to leave. Then she picks up a bottle of beer from the table. The Fang Road. I'm sorry today, my friend drank too much, disturbing everyone's interest. I'll apologize for her. After speaking, she gulped down the drink. The man looked at her with distress but did not stop her. How he wished his wife would seek help from him. But she didn't. After finishing her drink, she just left, leaving the man feeling a bit lost. But not long after, he received a caring call from the woman. She asked when he would be home. She wanted to come and talk to him. The man stood still. Then he got up and hurried home. Even though they were newlyweds, they had been living separately. The woman arrived at the man's house, entered the door, just about to turn on the light. Suddenly, her wrist was grabbed by someone, pinned against the wall. Turns out the man had returned home before her. Women come to men because she knows the man is necessary to report, although her girlfriend went for Guanlei. but in front of so many friends of the man. She scolded his old love. It does make a man lose face. She's afraid that the man's mood is not good. Then she turns around and teases her girlfriend. The woman takes a deep breath, ignoring the man's aggressive gaze, softly begging the man. But the man is fascinated by the woman's lips opening and closing. His other hand suddenly exerts force, tightly pressing the person against himself. The woman is not happy, struggling to say, "You've drunk too much." The man didn't respond. Instead, he buried his head in the woman's neck, and continued to nuzzle back and forth. When it's time for the next move, the untimely phone rings, forcing the man to answer. He continues to chat business on the phone, while stealing glances at his coy wife. A woman watches a man rush around, and takes out her phone to check the message sent by her best friend. She expresses regret, saying that she was just impulsive at the time. "You, man, are such a lunatic. Are they not going to use this as an excuse to pressure you into something with him?" When seeing this message, a woman can't help but smile. She was about to reply. A shadow loomed over their heads. The man raised an eyebrow lightly. "This one? That one, want to give it a try? I guarantee you'll be satisfied." The man leaned in close and whispered softly in the ear. The woman shook her head and refused. "I don't want to try." "Not interested," the man teased. "Not interested? Why not give it a try? How do you know if you're not interested?" But the woman blurted out, "Your skills are too poor. I remember it vividly." Ahem. Said something wrong? Feeling a certain emotion surging in the man, just when the woman thought the man was angry, he unbuttoned his shirt and smirked. "It's been 3 months since everything happened, and you still remember it so clearly." The woman took a deep breath and chose to remain silent. The woman had just been married to her handsome husband for 3 months, just asked for a divorce, also said that after the divorce, "I don't want any assets." The man asked, "What are the benefits of divorce? After all, marriage and divorce. I'm already on my second marriage." Just now, a woman complained about her husband's lack of skills, and refused his request for this and that. To ease the awkward atmosphere, the man asked his wife to serve him a bowl of noodles. The woman is busy in the kitchen, feeling the rare warmth of family. The noodle soup is quickly cooked. The woman politely invites the man to eat. The man also serves a bowl for the woman. "Take a seat and eat with yourself." The woman paused for a moment. Though they are a couple, they have never eaten alone together. The woman scooped the noodles, a man with an empty bowl. After all, it was the first time his wife had cooked for him. He suddenly asked, "Do you still like Daji?" The woman coughed awkwardly twice. "I don't like it anymore. Over the years at the show families, I haven't provoked you. I know our marriage has made you very uncomfortable, but you play your game. I pretend I didn't see. Give me 3 years. I still have 3 years left on my contract with the Zhou family. I will resign after 3 years. He will also take the initiative to divorce you." "Divorce?" The man frowned. "Don't worry. I don't want a single cent of your money," the woman said. One adds, while the other asks, "What's the benefit?" "I've been married and divorced twice. What benefits can you give me in this marriage?" the man asked shamelessly. As the woman didn't know how to respond, the man teased her, drawing her close. "Do you think I'm that pseudo-gentleman big brother, just messing around with you in a platonic way?" The woman struggled to listen, to get rid of the man's next move. The man reached out and squeezed her cheek. Then he whispered in her ear, "Don't think I don't know. You want to use me as a cover to investigate the Zhou family." At these words, the woman froze in place, realizing how secretive she had been. How could he know? The man smirked and gently tapped the woman's head. "Stay calm. You can't be this timid," the woman nervously asked when he found out. The man whispered hotly in her ear, "Probably is when you crawled onto my bed that night," the man said, as he greasily undid his own shirt buttons, to entice his wife's interest toward him. The woman who was discovered to have a secret was a bit nervous. She thought she had covered her tracks perfectly. Who would have thought she would still be found out? The man shrugged, telling the woman not to be nervous. He wasn't interested in investigating the Zhou family's affairs for his wife. The woman stared at the man named Zhou in front of her. After confirming that the man was not joking, she asked calmly, "Are you not worried that I might do something harmful to the Zhou family?" The man looks indifferent. "What does it have to do with me if you are detrimental to the Zhou family?" The open shirt collar is both sexy and provocative. It seems to be displaying its charm to women. The woman lightly bites her lip. She couldn't quite figure out what this man is thinking. Clearly he is considered part of the Zhou family too, but whenever the Zhou family is mentioned, He always carries a sense of aloofness and indifference, just like an outsider. The woman suddenly recalled the scene of their first meeting. The man was still a refined and quiet young man at that time. But for some reason, at some point, this young man became somewhat twisted and cranky. The man saw the woman remain silent. Taking advantage of her distraction, he leaned in close. And with a deep and seductive voice he said, "Ing, I really missed that night. I miss you. I will keep your secret. Can you repay me by staying with me for one night?" The woman takes a shallow breath and calms down, looked up at the man and asked, "Do you want to have a relationship with me?" The man's thin lips twitched. "No. Cultivate marital feelings?" Women think men's words are too fake. What is the deal with their marriage? Although outsiders do not know, the two parties involved are well aware. The woman spoke calmly. "You don't need to keep the secret from me. Just go ahead and see who believes you." Then he pushed the man away and got up, preparing to go back to his own home, watching his wife leave. The man smiled, but said nothing. Now, he was the only one left in the family. On the way back, the woman informed the mysterious person to suspend the investigation of the Zhou family. She was afraid her parents' affairs hadn't been thoroughly investigated, ended up getting involved in it. My aloof workaholic wife is trying to whitewash a male artist under her agency, but ended up exposing her husband's scandal, all because her husband is replaceable, can't lose the job. In the morning, as soon as the woman stepped into the company's gates, she was blocked by two men. A broker brought a male artist to ask for her help. It turns out the male artist was being slandered and exposed by his ex-girlfriend. During the duration of the relationship, the boyfriend cheated. This triggered a wave of criticism online. Some women are like a curse to them. They can disclose it first. Last night, Mr. Zhou secretly met with the popular actress, Guan Lei, in a bar. The agent suspects and hesitantly speaks. "Manager Jiang, this isn't good, is it? If Director Shou finds out, I've already pointed out the way for you. To go or not to go, you figure it out yourselves." Jiang Ying glanced at the male artist from the impoverished family background. In the end, she couldn't bring herself to be too harsh. After all, she also came from an impoverished family. Everyone is not having an easy time. She personally made a phone call to have the rumors between Zhou Zong and Guan Lei released over there. 2 hours later, the rumors about Zhou Zong and Guan Lei dominated the headlines, became a hot topic. This lowered the popularity of the male artist. That afternoon, a passerby self-exposed the warmth of the relationship with the male artist's girlfriend. There were also explicit photos to confirm. The male performer has garnered sympathy online. Sincerely wash himself. This time, in the office of President Zhou, his own assistant quietly handed him a tablet. The hot search trends of today are displayed above. The assistant reports quietly. "This is what Miss Jiang did for whitewashing." Mr. Zhou asked in confusion. "Whitewashing using my scandal?" The assistant is feeling sorry for her boss at the moment. The boss's wife, for the sake of a mere trainee, actually personally threw dirty water at the boss. Just at this moment, the head of the planning department, Lao Zhao, spoke up. "Mr. Zhou, Miss Guan, the specially invited guest for the annual meeting, has been withdrawn. The schedules of other big shots are all full. What should we do?" In fact, their schedules are not full at all, but everyone knows about Guan Lei's relationship with Mr. Zhou, so they dare not approach her, afraid of being sidelined. Zhou Yi is not a fool either. He understands some of the ins and outs of the entertainment industry. He leaned back in the chair without saying a word. After a few seconds, he said with a mocking smile, "Can't find anyone to ask me what to do. Go find Manager Jiang. The person she wants to replace is here." He passed the buck to his wife. The assistant was speechless and complained in her mind. "President Zhou, this is clearly a personal vendetta disguised as an official announcement." Lao Zhao was ordered to find the manager of the public relations department, Jiang Ying. Jiang Ying reluctantly agreed to get it done in 3 days. Lao Zhao also wanted to flatter a few words. Jiang Ying gestured for him to remember to close the door when leaving. Assistant Xiao Qiao defends her manager. "Why should we do other people's work?" She grumbles in annoyance. "If I knew it would be this troublesome, I wouldn't have switched with Guan Lei." Jiang Ying smiled and replied, "Trouble needs to be replaced. Some sharpness can't be encouraged." Jiao Nan followed Jiang Ying for 2 years, knows Jiang Ying's temperament, looks aloof, but actually easy to get along with in private. 30 minutes later, Jiang Ying appeared at the airport with Xiao Nan. They were preparing to go to an city and invite Mr. Li to come forward. Here, Zhou is smoking with his own assistant. Also appeared at the airport. Assistant Chen showed him something on his phone. "Mr. Zhou, Miss Guan just posted an ambiguous Weibo. It's quite ambiguous. I love you. It's a secret that cannot be declared." Zhou glanced over and squinted his eyes. "Quite artistic. At this moment, Assistant Chen caught Jiang Ying's eye. He nervously asked Joey whether to contact Miss Guan to delete the Weibo, if Madam sees it on her end. Before the assistant could finish speaking, the man raised an amused eyebrow and asked, "Do you think she would care?" Chun, the assistant, responded seriously, "No, she wouldn't," and then felt like I said the wrong thing, hastily corrected myself and said, "Will she?" The man chuckled softly, "Who cares if she can or not? A wooden stake." Very dull. Assistant Chen still doesn't understand himself now. How did the boss get married? He only remembers that early morning, the boss called him to have him deliver a set of women's clothing, and then witness the scene. Zhou Yi's bare upper body was covered in scratch marks, while Jiang Ying, his face filled with suppressed pain, was wearing a bathrobe. Jiang Ying focused on looking at the information of Mr. Li. Xiao Nan reached out to let her see over there. Jiang Ying followed Xiao Nan's direction and looked over. She found that Zhou Yi was at the VIP security checkpoint with his assistant. Jiang Ying hurriedly looked away. Pretending to be indifferent, he said to Xiao Nan, "Mr. Li's house is in a remote location. It's best to book the hotel in advance." Xiao Nan sighed. Unable to conceal the disappointment in his gossip-loving heart, the two hurriedly brushed past each other. The man appeared unrestrained, superficially ambiguous for 2 days, but actually pure and focused. These are just his disguises, in order to survive in the Shou family. In order to have the ability to protect the people he wants to protect, he transformed from a weak and timid illegitimate child into the smooth and savvy CEO of Zhou Media. And the driving force behind these changes is because of this woman. This woman is the light in his dark life. When he was a child, he was locked in a dark room because he said a few words to his father, which made his stepmother jealous. He was so scared that he fainted with a high fever. He's like garbage thrown in the corner. When he wanted to commit suicide, the girl secretly sent medicine to comfort him, because the girl felt sorry for him too. In the vast weak family, they were the only outsiders. The boy's personality changed drastically after a serious illness. He began to learn how to please the elders, especially Grandpa Zhou. He also subtly revealed his sharpness while maintaining a low profile. He would silently help the girl at times. They got along pretty well at the time. But that night, the boy saw the girl outside her stepmother's room, as if she had heard some scary secret, and was trembling with fear. After that, the girl changed. She became colder and colder. Occasionally encounter, but only nodding acquaintances, for survival. The boy is getting more and more mixed. He likes girls. The girl seems to like the older brother too. Time goes back to now. After boarding the plane, the woman closes her eyes for a nap, because there will be a tough battle after getting off the plane. After all, it's not easy to invite Lao Li. It is said that the media company that wanted to invite him out last time was also publicly criticized by Lao Li on Weibo. Suddenly, someone tapped her on the shoulder. It turned out to be Assistant Chen coming to pass a message to Manager Zhou. Ask her if she wants to upgrade to a higher class. The woman thanked and declined. After Assistant Chen left, Xiao Nan, sitting beside, couldn't contain her gossip heart. She pointed to Guan Lei's Weibo on the screen and asked, "Manager Jiang, Lei Guan is really with Mr. Zhou, right?" The woman lowered her head and glanced at Xiao Nan's phone screen, looking at the sentence from Lei Guan, "I love you." Some secrets are impossible to be declared. A woman's lips slightly tremble, with a hint of guilt. If it wasn't for that night, he would definitely have married Guan Lei, wouldn't he? Get off the plane. The woman takes a taxi with her assistant. Xiao Nan whispered, "Mr. Zhou and the others are over there. Do we need to go and say hello?" The woman, however, remained expressionless and said, "I didn't see it. Let's go. Let's take a taxi to the hotel." The woman then began to look at the materials, trying to find a breakthrough from Mr. Li's daily habits. The investigation found that Mr. Li has a habit of playing golf. Perhaps this is the breakthrough. Just then, the door was knocked on. The woman thought it was her assistant coming back. She got up and opened the door, but she saw Mr. Zhou instead. "Aren't you going to invite me in for a seat? Is Assistant Chen not here?" The woman glanced at the corridor and then turned to walk inside. "Would you like some water?" The woman and the man really had nothing to talk about. Before, they used to have little conversation when they met. After getting married, it stayed the same. The two spoke even less. Upon hearing Zhou Yi say she didn't want to drink water, she sat back down to review the materials. The man then deliberately sat down beside her, his hand naturally resting on the back of her seat. The woman noticed the restless hand, and turned to ask the man, "Have you been idle lately?" The man, with his hands in his pockets, replied, "A bit. I heard that Big Brother recently secured 2 major projects. Grandpa is very happy. How come you are worried about me falling out of favor?" After all, we are husband and wife, a shared glory. A hint of sarcasm in the woman's eyes, yet revealing sincerity. Husband. The man feels very comfortable in his heart. Those 2 projects, brother, it was intentional for me to let him have it. Did you trip him? The woman averted her gaze. No. I'm very curious. What do you like about your big brother? The 2 of them looked at each other again. The atmosphere became tense, frozen for a few seconds. Zhou Yi's body went limp, expressing their love for Guan Lei openly. Jiang Ying also confessed, expressing their love for their elder brother in a reserved manner. When I was in college, the money the Zhou family gave was actually very little. Although I have been working and studying hard, it's still not enough occasionally. After Big Brother found out, he quietly put money in my bag. After a man listens to a woman's story, his restless hand pauses. You fell for him from here? The woman responded yes. What if the person who gave you money isn't him, except for him? No one in the Zhou family would do that. The man retracts his hand from her shoulder, feeling a bit disappointed.